Hello, welcome to Reading Time. My name's Time, and today we're going to be reading A Wrinkle in Time. Let's get to reading. A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine is the first of 5 books in the Time Quintet. And this book in particular is about a young girl named Meg Murray, her younger brother Charles Wallace, and their newly found friend Calvin, going off on an adventure through space and time to save Meg's father and fight the powers of darkness. This book fits the coming of age storyline very well. We have our young protagonists who are learning more about themselves, about the world around them, and about those who are close to them. And as a result of challenges that they face along the way, they grow and are able to overcome difficulties that they face. This book, while it does have the makings for greatness, in my opinion, falls short of that. I don't think it was a bad book, but I don't find myself impressed with the story as much as I was expecting to. I would give it a 3.5 star out of 5-star rating. This book had a lot of interesting elements in it, a lot of ideas that I wish were fully fleshed out and examined in more detail. However, the author kind of skims over a lot of these interesting concepts in order to progress the storyline along faster. And I really wish that there had been more focus on some places or world building than just on moving the plot along. Because it feels like, in my opinion, that the protagonists and the readers are just being pulled along with no chance to understand what's really being asked of them. And maybe that's the point of the book, but I don't feel like it was done well enough to justify that feeling. This book explores the idea of space and time travel mixed in with Christian theology as a baseline for the story. The content, because of that, is very clean in general. There's no red flags that I would raise. There's mild violence with a fight scene where our young protagonists are restrained by guards and stuff like that. And there's a brief kiss scene at one point, but the overall content is not anything that I would find alarming for younger readers. I would put this at a 5th to 7th grade reading level. I feel like that's old enough to understand some of the scientific principles that are introduced, but young enough to still find some wonder and awe in the storyline and maybe not be as jaded as I feel about how quickly the story progresses. However, there is also a lot of Christian theology in this book. I personally have no issues with the book having a baseline in Christian theology. Some of the characters in the book are referenced to as being literal guardian angels. There's references to scripture passages in the book. But I do know that some people may want to preview the book so that they can have a conversation with their younger readers and answer any questions that may come up because of this book. This book also touches on very scientific concepts such as theoretical space-time travel, and that's not something I'm heavily versed in, but it could also raise some questions about that. So overall, it's an okay book. Do I think it's one of the best books of all time? Personally, no. I don't feel like this is a book that you necessarily do need to read. But it might be something that you enjoy. It might be something that you find interesting, or you may not be as bothered by the pacing as I was. I do think that for its time, being written in the 1960s, it was probably very good at that time. But I think that this type of story, mixing science with theology, and having a coming of age story as our protagonists fight darkness, has been done in other ways and has been done in more impactful ways. So personally, I think this is one that you could skip and it wouldn't change your life drastically one way or the other. However, maybe you think differently about this book. Maybe it's one that you've read before and have enjoyed, or maybe you will read it and find it a lot more enjoyable than I did. Ultimately, though, you may have different thoughts about this book than I do. Is A Wrinkle in Time one that you have read and enjoyed? Is it one that you think should be on everyone's bookshelf? If so, let me know in the comments. Maybe I went into it with the wrong mindset, or maybe you have some thoughts and ideas that I hadn't thought about while reading it. If you'd like to follow along with this 100 Kids Book Bucket List Challenge, please feel free to subscribe and follow me on social media. Before I forget, we have our poster for out of the 100 scratched off. A Wrinkle in Time is this little lightning bolt, and I think that is because the story begins with the sentence, "It was a dark and stormy night," as any classic story would. As always, I hope that you have a wonderful day and a marvelous read.